revisit June 4th, 2012 policy discussion on posting draft minutes. Who's running this one?
Well, I'll start it. I sit on the Marketing and Public Outreach Committee, and there's been a lot of commentary in our committee.
Can you please speak up? Please.
Can I hear you? There's been a lot of talk in our committee about the chairman administrator wants to post draft minutes 48 hours after the meeting before they're actually approved. And we've discussed it. We actually had it at the June board meeting. We had it. In fact, Diane can talk about that. But I wanted it on the agenda because I wanted for the committee to understand as a whole and all the other committees, and just be talked about one more time to what our policy would be for posting draft minutes, because I was under the impression from our council when he came and talked to us that we never post draft minutes because they change. There could be an error in there that could be detrimental to what the information is sent out. And then, of course, people read it, take it, do what they want with that information. So I was under that strict impression that we were not supposed to post draft minutes. And Peter and I have had a discussion about it, so I thought it would be best to bring it to the board and then we can follow it.
Well, I remember Mr. Arnone, our legal counsel, saying that you shouldn't post draft minutes because of everything you just said. I thought did we make a policy that we weren't going to?
I don't know. I mean, we certainly talked about it as a group at the meeting, and it was in the June 4th minutes of the, I believe. I'm pretty confident.
Right, it was. It was in the June 4th.
So, Peter, do you have anything to say about it? Because we have talked about this at great length in our committee meeting, and I'd like the board to know about it.
There's really three issues here, all rolled into one, and they're all very separate issues. One of them is posting things online. And it's just one of the many means of communication. We, about a year ago, had Arnone come and talk to us about the Brown Act had changed, and we had to, it was strongly encouraged to put agendas on the website. But he was asked at that time if that included other documents like minutes, and he said, you're not required to do those at all. That's you know. And we discussed it at that time and said, well, we don't have the time and the resources. It would take too much of the administrator's time at that time. Well, I think that was in June. But so that's one issue. But we do have to make, according to the Brown Act, everything that goes on in this meeting, all documentation that the board is going to see during the meeting, needs to be made available to the public. This includes draft minutes prior to the meeting. Actually, at the same time, the law states, the Brown Act states, is that at the same time as the body gets its packet, that's what it's called, a packet, the public needs to have access to that packet. Now, the only thing that is required to be posted online, and even that is only if you maintain a website. If you pull a website, we would have to post it online. But it is the agenda itself. The rest of the documents, however, need to be made available. And other institutions over the last year that I'm familiar with and sit on have migrated toward making all the documents available online. But the real issue is, are draft minutes, should they be available to the public? And at least my reading of the Brown Act is absolutely, because we're going to be talking about it in here. We're going to review the draft minutes and approve them and so forth. It's a subject issue that may come up, and it really quite often constitutes old business that might be there as well. So there's that's a sort of a separate issue. Are they subject, which they probably are, to what is it when you demand public documents? Freedom of Information Act review. Somebody can say, you're using this draft minute to do, you're going to be studying it tonight. I want to copy it. In any event, so Brown Act, they freedom type thing. The public should be aware of what's in the draft minutes.
Before you go on here, can we address this particular?
No, I'd like to address all 3 points and then address the whole package. I don't want
to. So no, I can't interject anything right now. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I do have the floor, so I'd just like to be able to respond. You asked me to respond, give you my opinions. So, posting is one thing. Putting them in the Making them available to the public is another. And if we decide to make them available to the public, like every other document in the packet, then that becomes a problem for us, as is every other document, since we don't really run an open office on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, the 3 to 72 hours prior to the meeting. We issue the packet, and then the public has no capability of actually calling a number and saying, oh, I need to get a packet. Now, they could personally call Steve at any time of the day or night. He said that 24 hours a day he's on call. So you can call the chair and say, I need, the letter. I want to see it, and I'm sure he's run down here and get a copy. But it really, by law, is supposed to be publicly available where somebody can come and peruse the packet. There should be an office packet that anybody can run through, and that has to include all the documentation. So there's that aspect of things. Do we want to conceal ours? None of the other groups I know of do. They don't conceal the draft minutes. They're published online. Actually, everybody I know is going online. But so that's a separate issue. Posting anything online is a non-issue to me. It's fine not to put it online, but we have to make it available with the rest of the package. So, go ahead.
The actual law for the Brown Act policy, January 1st, 2012, it went into effect that we absolutely have to post the agenda on the
Yeah,
website.
well, if we have a website, yeah.
Right, and we do have a website, and that's not going to change, so there is that absolute requirement. As far as posting minutes from every single committee meeting and these board meetings, I absolutely believe we've been remiss in doing that, and so it may not be a requirement when those minutes are approved. I absolutely think every single committee meeting minutes and board minutes should be on that website. Our attorney sat in this room and told us that we did not have to post draft minutes anywhere. So I would like to know, you keep saying it's the law and it's documented. Do you have something that says we have to post draft minutes?
Absolutely. They don't have to be posted. They don't, I agree. They do not have to be posted. But they must be available to the public in some form is what it's saying. And one more point I want to rejoin here is that you referred to publishing draft minutes, not to the public, not on a board anywhere, not to the website, not anywhere. I actually sent the members of the committee this last time in the hopes that we could get a consensus by email so that we could avoid all these kind of problems, that we could actually agree, review the minutes. I wrote them up the next day, which is actually great because I, at least in my mind, I had a clear memory of exactly what happened. Quite often after a general meeting and after a month has passed and you go 3 days before the next meeting and you try and, what does that mean by that? And you're trying to go over notes and it's not very good. The best way, of course, for minutes, and the way that I would like to see us go is by camera. The video is the minutes now for the Board of Suits. Minutes for the library. It's the minutes for everybody now.
But how does that make the minutes available on paper to people if we're only...
They do a summary. What all these groups do is the secretary still does a summary that refers back to the video. It says, okay, we did this, we decided this, and that, I wanted to clarify, because you were saying, you were implying that we actually attempted to post or put online our meeting minutes, and what I was trying to do was to streamline the process so that 3 or 4 days after having a meeting, we could not only have the minutes, we could have reviewed them, made corrections, and then have final minutes, approved minutes by consensus. Which you were going to do, you confused me because you didn't want to do that. You guys went ballistic about that draft minute by consensus type approval. And then you wanted to do the same thing with the, what we'll talk about later, I guess.
First of all, we don't need to rehash our marketing and public outreach meeting because we're not at that point in our meeting yet. But we had, since we're talking about the draft minutes, in our committee meeting, you and I and Tia and Don, the committee, had decided that we would wait until we would talk about the draft minutes to be on the agenda for the January board meeting. So 2 days later, when you sent them out, and you actually copied and even sent them to David, our webmaster, and put them on the
No, I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't. I just sent them to the committee.
Well, then I misspoke, I apologize for that, but I was under the impression you had, so there was a big confusion. And so we say one thing in one meeting and then turn around and 2 days later you do something different. So that's why it's on the agenda, so we can get the policy right now what we're going to do.
That was jumping to conclusion. No, I was not posted. I was not requesting that they be posted. And I don't think I sent them to David. I think it was just a committee. And I was looking for consensus
Well,
so that we could move forward.
since the posting of minutes, specifically posting draft minutes, is what's on the agenda, I would appreciate it if more of the feedback on this as well.
So I have two different thoughts on it. One is related to the staff time.
And it was,
Janet?
so,
So I have two thoughts. One is related to the staff time to produce something within X period of time. With like 48 hours turnaround or something. I question, given the short number of hours a week, if that would be my first priority at all time. I'm very comfortable with a draft of anything going out. We haven't seen it yet. There could simply be misinformation, which is I think what Bill Arnone was trying to do. There could be inaccurate information. And so Peter, because I recall, and maybe somebody else can change my recollection if I'm misrecalling, I thought our legal counsel said don't post draft minutes, only distribute minutes. And I would be most comfortable following the advice of counsel on that matter. I understand then what you're talking about the board packet itself being available. So, having just said what I just said about Bill Arnone, my preference would be to use a PDF of the entire board packet, that it's not that there's an electronic version that gets sent out to the board, a copy that could be made available somehow to the public, and that would clearly have the word draft across the minute, and I could go in that direction, 40 to 72 hours in advance of the meeting as part of us and the public being informed of what's going to be happening in the meeting and what we're